Because yesterday we did get into Lord of the Rings is producing a new Gollum film from Warner Brothers, of course. And now what happened was there has been a Hunt for Gollum fan film that has been online for 15 years that was pulled off the internet after it was manually copyright claimed by Warner Brothers. It has since been returned. They have brought it back.
It had over 13 million views before being taken down because
Yep,
it's been up for so long.
Yep.
But it was only like 35 minutes long.
30, I mean, that's pretty good for a fan. It's like 40 minutes is good for a fan.
35 minutes long is a lot of work.
It's 40 minutes.
A lot of people saying, well, it's technically in the book, so it makes sense for them to make the movie. And I'm just saying, like, if you really have trust in Tolkien's decision not to explicitly tell the details of that story, then you don't have a justification for doing so, right? It doesn't make sense to me still.
My favorite example is still like, imagine like nowadays what you'd get for a television show is a prequel series about how Al Bundy got his job at a shoe shop. It doesn't need to be done. It's not. I don't even need a show about Al Bundy scoring 4 touchdowns in a single game in his high school football playing days. It's not necessary to the story.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, well, also not all parts of a story need to be told.
That's, yeah, I mean, whether a movie needs to be made or not is not even in consideration. It's just whether we can make money off of it.
I might have been excited for Lord of the Rings return if the Hobbit trilogy didn't happen and Rings of Power didn't happen.
So I kind of made the point that I think maybe in the next couple of weeks I might rewatch the original trilogy and then rewatch, because I'm not, I said before, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fanboy. I've seen all of them once, including the Hobbit films. Perhaps I liked the Lord of the Rings movies. The Hobbit movies, not so much, and that maybe going back and rewatching them now.
Did you ever watch the Hobbit movies in 48 frames per second?
No.
It was terrible.
Okay.
The Hobbit being turned into a trilogy at all doesn't make sense to me.
It is really funny. Somebody posted a picture from the books of like the paragraph that this is based on. He goes, "This is going to be turned into a 3-hour movie."
Yeah,
like this long.
It's a money grab.
If it was up to you, who would you get to direct this? Because when I said I like Andy Serkis as an actor, as a director,
As a director, yeah. I mean, like, I would, like, okay, I will say this. He made that Mowgli.
Yeah, he's the Jungle Book movie.
Jungle Book
and
movie.
The only ones I've seen from him was that and Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage. There Be Carnage.
You know what? I had a fun time with Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I had a fun time with it.
Naomi Harris was so miscast that I couldn't get over it the whole
Although I think I like the first Venom better. Yeah, the first Venom was definitely better. Yeah, I just don't think that he's the right pick for director. But if I'm gonna like,
who would you get?
Gosh, I mean that's tough. Like, who's a good modern director that can do something like this? I don't know. Maybe Robert Eggers, because I thought The Northman was great, and I think that he has the right sort of vision for something like this.
At first, I thought Kenneth Branagh, and then thought I think it'd be too boring.
Yeah, although, you know what? I did like Kenneth Branagh's the Death in Venice movie, or Haunting in Venice.
Okay, so
Death in Venice is the gay movie. Haunting in Venice.
So I liked Murder on the Orient Express. I thought Death on the Nile was meh. I fell asleep in Haunting in Venice.
As did I.
Yeah.
It was boring.
I fell asleep. I thought it was directed well, but I was so tired when we went to see it. I thought maybe if I went back, but...
I also don't like Michelle Yeoh, but that's just me.
There you go. So you think Robert Eggers?
Yeah, I mean, but he's doing his own thing. He's coming out with that Nosferatu movie, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Or how about this? Get Peter Jackson to do it rather than just have him produce.
Okay, but they asked him.
But
right? We know that they asked him, and he was
Peter Jackson
said no.
already ruined it by making the Hobbit movies. Yeah. All right, that's all. I think that, I don't think Peter Jackson is the right guy for this. The Hobbit movies, they just they didn't do it. They weren't that good.
Zemta in the chat says Zack Snyder should do it. Bro, a 3-hour movie
Hell
from
yeah.
Zack Snyder would be 6.5 hours after all the slow-mo. Like, imagine the scene where the ring is falling, and instead of like 120...
It's 15 minutes long.
Instead of 120 frames a second, it's 300 frames per second, and it just takes 20 minutes to... Yeah, it would be amazing.
Whoever actually, you know what? Forget that. Whoever directed Madam Web should direct.
Oh yeah, who was that again? Let me look it up.
No, just...
Look, Madam Web is the movie of the year.
And get Dakota Johnson to play Aragorn.
Yeah, Madam Web is honestly the movie of the year. It was so bad.
It was so awesome. It was so bad. It was awesome.
so bad, it was
Clarkson,
awesome.
I think. Yeah. But it was
Or,
comically bad.
or Werner Herzog. Yeah, Werner Herzog for Gollum.
Did they steal the title from the fan-made film? The Hunt for Gollum? I know it's not very creative for a title, but they kind of did steal the title.
So I want to go through a little bit of what this article said. It said the fan film likely contains the same story concept that's fueling the new project, which is being developed by producer Peter Jackson and his writing partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, who are not names I recognize. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
Who will be involved every step of the way. Andy Serkis is on board. And Andy Serkis was like a second unit director or something, or like he worked on the films, right? On the original trilogy or in the Hobbit movies?
I don't know. I know
I feel like I read that earlier today, but I could be misremembering that.
My buddy's dad was the second unit director on The
Okay.
Fellowship, but that doesn't sound like my buddy's dad.
13 million views for a 40-minute film is a good length. And I think you're right. You're right to what we said earlier, which is that the fan backlash would have been very severe.
Yeah.
And the best thing they could do is if this thing's really, really well liked, is bring this guy on to consult and help you. It's kind of like when I talk about how superhero costumes are so bad these days. They need to just start hiring these cosplay chicks to come in and help them make their costumes.
The costuming on Rings of Power was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's 'cause it all
I have
looks too
another.
clean.
I have another idea. They should just stop making superhero movies.
I can't abide. I still enjoy going and watching them be aggressively mediocre. I have no problem with that.
I have yet to see one that I like.
The one of the problems I have with the costumes is
I want
that
to
they're
say that
always...
when I like a superhero movie, when I say that I like it, I don't mean that I actually like it. I mean that I think it's better than the other ones, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Fair enough. Like the Rings of Power, it was because the costumes all looked like they were freshly laundered.
Even the armor,
Yeah.
it was
Shiny
pristine.
armor. Like you've been traveling the land, yet your costume looks like it just came out of wardrobe.
Yeah.
Like that's a problem. Seriously, wasn't it somebody's job to be like, hey, could you go push this around in the dirt for a few minutes? Right?
Most of the problem was Galadriel. Most people's problem with Rings of Power was Galadriel.
Yeah.
Or I think you called her girl boss Ladriel.
Well, they were calling her Guy Ladriel.
Guy Ladriel.
Guy Ladriel. Look, get James Cameron off of Avatar and make him make it.
Yeah. Or
James
you know
Cameron
what?
still knows how to tell a story.
Also, you know what? Here's another director I'm going to throw in the hat for Lord of the Rings. I got to throw in my good friend Uwe Boll.
I see it in the chat.
Look, I was just at Uwe's house in Germany. We had a really fun time. He's a good guy. And I'm going to throw his name in the hat.
Warner Bros, if you're watching.
Warner Bros, if you're watching, hit up my friend Uwe, Warner Brothers executive. I have his phone number. I'll give it to you. You can call him up. You can, you can get him on that movie.
I guess most people just have a problem with the stuff being very, very little source material for films that are always really, really long in length. Maybe one of the things, how long were the Hobbit films? They were on the longer side too, right?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours,
Yeah.
right? What you should do is look, it makes sense for the trilogy to be exceedingly long. It does. It's an epic. But if you're adapting a shorter story, tell a shorter story. And maybe you endear yourself to the public in a way that has yet to been done, at least from what I remember from these films. Because
Hunt for Gollum miniseries.
Fans of the trilogy don't want to watch the short version. They want to watch the 3.5 hour version, and they want to go to the theaters to watch it. But this doesn't need to be that.
This IP has been exhausted.
Yes.
It's over.
Well, also,
they can't accept that it's over.
Also, the last time they tried to do a Gollum-themed Lord of the Rings thing was that Gollum game.
Yeah, everyone hated it.
And that
People were
Gollum
dunking
game
on
was,
that too. They said, "Is this movie going to be based off the
Yeah.
award-winning game?"
that was my tweet. That was my tweet. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's perfect. And then they merge together, and Amazon buys Warner Brothers, and it becomes Rings of Gollum. It'd be awesome.
They're
That's
just
right.
gonna do a Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings crossover.
I
movie.
think there's something to be said here that like when Rings of Power was announced, every YouTuber was like about to cash in big, gonna be awesome because I'm gonna make content on this.
Well, we did.
I didn't see the same tone for this. I saw mostly like Rings of Power or Lord of the Rings is dead as far as making new movies.
Yeah.
Just move on, but not the same glee that people had about like Rings of Power is going to be awful and I'm going to make a bunch of money making YouTube videos on it.
I guarantee you people, the audience has no idea that this is being produced by Warner Brothers, not Amazon. They have a concept of the difference and they don't care.
Yeah, the average person doesn't understand that the rights for
Like,
the
oh, it's Lord of the
television-
Rings.
Yeah.
They just think it's the same people.
Well, my take on this is just like when there's something as good as Lord of the Rings, by making new things, it's like the studios are trying to sell this this idea to people that are like, remember how good things were, like, and how happy you were when you went and saw the original Lord of the Rings.
You can feel that again.
You can feel that again, and I'm thinking like, I own the extended editions. I can I rewatch the Lord of the Rings a lot. They're some of my favorite movies. I can rewatch those movies. Those movies have not ceased to exist at all. But what they give you is they give you this like watered down bad version of it, and you go there kind of hoping to have that spark that you had, like this great feeling you had when you watched Fellowship of the Rings in the theater. I remember watching Fellowship of the Rings in the theater. I mean, I know I'm a little old, but like I remember doing that, and it was amazing, But I just know that it's not going to give me that same reaction. It's going to be like if I get duped into it, I'm going to feel like I should get this reaction. And then you go there and you get something that's like bland or bad or just not super great.
Is that going to be your experience of Joker Folie Due?
Yeah.
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 I would
You're not
make
going to
that-
feel the way you felt before COVID. That's
I
for
would
sure.
make that argument, but I would be contradicting myself after what I said for Twisters. But I guess I didn't also have like a mega connection to the original Twister. I guess for me, it was like when Independence Day 2 came out, and I'm like, this will never recapture the magic of the original. It's not possible. And of course, it didn't, and it wasn't.
You know what? Part of what made the first Independence Day, capture the hearts and minds of the people is that it was an original film that did really well. People liked.
Yep.
When you're like, oh, it's a sequel. Many years later, it's like it might not. The only movie that I think pulled that off was Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because they fundamentally, it's a very different story than the original. It understood that the character aged and it can't continue to ttell the same story.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was also less machismo, more sweetness,
Well, it's more about like
more
fatherhood.
sentimental.
It's more about like fatherhood than being like a young like guy
Yes.
who's like, I'm super cool.
I loved it. Yeah, to your point about like the nostalgia aspect of it, I said, you know what the best example would be for kids today? If you're my age and you own the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990 movie on VHS, and it came with the Pizza Hut ad with the song and the kid playing in the outfield, it would be like trying to remake that now and recapturing the same magic you felt when you watched that as a kid. It's not possible.
Thank you. I still thought Mutant Mayhem was great, even though you didn't.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.